Using an assisted listening app for your, to be able to hear things better. The app is now fixed. We've been having trouble with it, but it's fixed now. So if you're trying to use it and it's not working, could you uninstall it and reinstall it? And it should be just fine, okay? So for whomever you can't hear me, Ed, Lynn, come on. We will get you a personal assisted listening device. Okay, thank you. We are ready.
Good morning, everyone. I would invite you to rise in body or in spirit and turn in the gray hymnal to hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered. Now, this morning's Music for Gathering expresses the wish that all who speak and seek here will find a kindly word and feel they have been heard. It then promptly goes on to use the binary language of its time to specify women and men. But we draw our circle of kinship wide enough to truly call all people to come and step inside. So please join in singing now today this, our heart's own song, hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Good morning. Could I get a little more energy than that? Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Gurkirat Sekhon, a lay worship leader and Sikh Unitarian Universalist. Welcome to the first Unitarian Universalist congregation of Ann Arbor, a presence in our community since 1865. We old, y'all. I wish to extend a warm welcome to those joining us online. If you'd like to take a second and introduce yourself in the chat, please do. I know other members of our community will warmly greet you there. We also invite you to please take a moment and fill out our newcomer survey at uuaa.org/newcomer survey, which will help us better connect with you. If you are attending for the first time and are with us in person in the sanctuary, we invite you to attend our newcomer welcome. This newcomer welcome takes place each week in the Redmond Room after our service, The Redmond Room is out these doors, the first room on the left. You'll know you've made it when you see a sign that reads Redmond Room. That's a joke. I mean, but the sign does exist. Someone will be there to help answer questions about this congregation and Unitarian Universalism more broadly. As we enter more deeply into the worship hour, I invite you to reflect on your sources of strength. Who do you talk to when you're struggling? Who all has been there for you in your darkest hours? When you think of these people, how does it feel in your body? Is there a warmth in your chest, a smile washing over your face, maybe a heavy sense of gratitude, a feeling calling up both past pains and the stark relief you now feel in light of that person having been in your life? How lucky are we to have each other? We're gathered in worship, we're gathered in community.
Indeed, how lucky we are to have each other, to have this community, to have the privilege of being able to gather in person in this particular sanctuary, and how lucky we are to have the means to extend the community to those joining virtually across geographical distances. So when I think about the ritual of lighting the chalice, I really do feel the connection with those live streaming, knowing that many, most, maybe all of those watching are also participating in this ritual. If you are somewhere where it's safe to have a chalice, please get ready to light it. Now, don't do this if you're driving in your car right now, but instead you can conjure a chalice in your imagination and light it that way. Your intent connects you with everyone else lighting chalices this morning. The flame is a symbol of this faith, a reminder of the transformative power love has in the community. With that in mind, I invite Scott Olson to come up to help light the chalice this morning. We say words every week, and for some of you, they have become rote, and for some of you, they are brand new. I invite us all to engage these words as if it is the first time you are hearing them. What are we lighting this chalice for? Would you please say together with me, we light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Scott. For decades, we have spoken this congregation's covenant. Again, it may just roll off your tongue without much thought. Today, though, give it your full attention. If you are new, you may join in. This is not a profession of a single belief, like a creed you might have said in another church that was restricted to those who believed. Rather, the covenant is words expressing how we want to be in relationship with each other, and that is open to everyone. So would you please join me? The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
We are, all of us, imperfect, incomplete, works in progress. We are, all of us, broken in one way or another. Our story for all ages asks us to open our minds and hearts to the possibility that there is beauty in what is broken. The Cracked Pot, author unknown. There once was a water bearer for a manor house with 2 large pots. Each hung on the end of a pole, which they carried across their back. One pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water at the end of the long walk from the stream to the manor house. But the other pot had a crack in it, and at the end of the long walk, the cracked pot arrived only half full. For 2 full years, this went on daily, with the bearer delivering only 1.5 pots of water to the manor house. Of course, the perfect pot was very proud of its accomplishments. But the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable that it was able to accomplish only half of what had been made to do. After 2 years of what it saw as a bitter failure, it spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. "I am ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you." The bearer asked, "Why? What are you ashamed of?" The pot replied, "For these past 2 years, this crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back to the manor house. Because of my flaws, you don't get full value for your efforts." The water bearer felt sorry for the old cracked pot, and in their compassion they said, "As we return to the manor house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path." As they went up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wildflowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it somewhat. But at the end of the trail, it still felt sad because it had leaked out half of the water, and so again it apologized to the bearer for its failure. The bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side? That's because I have always known about your imperfection, and I made good use of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate the manor house table. Without you being just the way you are, we would not have this beauty to grace our path and our home." Now, this is where the story traditionally ends, but I have written one final chapter that goes like this. Years later, the manor house no longer needed water from the stream every day, and so the water bearer turned to the cracked pot and said, "I have time and space now to repair your crack, should you seek it." The cracked pot considered what it would mean to repair this part of itself and asked the water bearer, "Will I be dishonoring the gift of my imperfection if I accept your offer?" The water bearer said, "Do you trust me to honor your whole self?" The cracked pot accepted the offer, and the water bearer gathered materials and worked into the night to repair the crack. The following morning, the cracked pot looked at itself and marveled. The perfectly imperfect crack was now filled with a beautiful golden resin, transforming the whole pot into something even more precious than it was before. The cracked pot was still cracked, and it was perfect just as it was. The end. The water bearer in our story was inspired by kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery using a resin mixed with powdered gold or silver. The goal of kintsugi is not to make the piece look like it did before it broke, or to make the repair invisible. Author Vanitha Risner describes the process in this way. Rather than trying to hide the damage, kintsugi highlights the repair. The imperfections are what make it beautiful and valuable. A broken piece that is put back together has more of a story, seems more authentic and real, is stronger and more resilient than something that has stayed pristine. The breaking of once was, the layered and time-consuming process of putting it back together, the mending it with gold, all contribute to its value. And surprisingly, it becomes more resilient after it has been mended by kintsugi, even stronger than it was before." End quote. Isn't that what it means to heal in our lives? To recover and mend from trauma? Healing does not mean that we cover up the imperfect parts of ourselves. It is a celebration of both our fragility and our resilience. We are all broken. The love and compassion that flows through this community is a healing balm. When we break, our pieces are put back together and made more whole, more beautiful because of the healing, golden-tinged connections we nurture here. It is a recognition that there is beauty in the broken. May we always honor and cherish the journey toward wholeness in each of us. And now is the time in our service when we sing our children as they head to their programs. I invite all of our young people of any age, if they'd like to join us, to head to the Faz Chapel as the congregation sings with love and tenderness.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
One of the ways we practice our value of generosity is through our Sharing the Collection program. Once a month, our financial offerings go to a local nonprofit organization. Today, we will hear from Mary Jo Ebert, Chair of the Board of the Michigan Unitarian Universalist Social Justice Network, known familiarly as MUSJN. Please welcome Mary Jo to our pulpit.
Good morning. MUSJN, what is that? Michigan UU Social Justice Network. We're a statewide network of UU congregations, other faith communities, and partners working together for social justice. Your congregation, and some of you individually, are valued members of this network, and Marianne Hergenrother serves on our board. One of our functions is to advocate for legislative change on social issues in alignment with UU principles and values. We also organize or co-sponsor events that provide information, offer guidance on actions individuals can take on social issues, and make connections among people to build collective power. MUSJN was started 22 years ago to create synergy in the work that congregations were doing individually. This is a key part of our mission to this day. I'll give you a couple of examples. For the presidential primary, we organized and trained UUs to serve as nonpartisan poll watchers. This resulted in a meeting with election officials after the election to discuss something that needed attention at a particular site. This collaborative exchange resulted in an improvement for the next election. And just this past week on Wednesday, MUSJN co-sponsored a candidate forum at the Genesee County Jail for people detained there who are eligible to vote, and were able to hear directly from candidates. And just yesterday, we signed on to a letter authored by Equality Michigan. They are opposing a recent challenge by a Catholic group to the conversion ban that was passed by the Michigan legislature last year. Our actions make a difference for a range of issues such as reproductive care, environmental justice, economic, racial, and LGBTQ+ justice, voting rights, and others. From the Keweenaw Peninsula to Portage to Ann Arbor and Detroit, we aim to leverage resources to assist our congregation's social justice efforts, to do the greatest good for people of Michigan and beyond, in support of the fundamental UU commitment to the inherent dignity and worthiness of all people. I ask for your financial support today and pledge to put it to good use in this work. I also invite you to visit with me during coffee hour to learn more about our work and how you might engage in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jo, for highlighting the important work Mushjin does in the state. We're honored to be an ongoing partner with Mushjin. Now, there are many ways you can give to support Mushjin's work. You may give online at uuaa.org/giving. You can text UUAA to 73256, or you can leave a check or cash in the offering baskets. As the ushers come forward now, I thank you in advance for your generosity. Today's collection will now be gratefully given and received. Thank you, the All Come Singers. As the ushers come forward, I invite you all to rise in body or in spirit, and holding gratitude and generosity in your hearts, speak these words we use to dedicate our offering. We say together, "To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings." Thank you. You may be seated. As Stella mentioned earlier in the Time for All Ages, everyone among us has been broken in some way at some time. Broken, less than whole, imperfect. In our time of meditation today, I will ask you to think about when you may have felt that way, but only briefly, before we think about repair and wholeness. And please know, if you are in a place of tenderness right now and this feels too much, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. We'll take time to reflect on a series of questions. So, settle into your body in whatever way is most comfortable. You may want your feet solidly connected to the earth, or you may want to stand or move around. It may help to minimize distractions if you close your eyes, or you might focus on one point, perhaps a rose or the chalice flame. Quiet your thoughts as best you can. Breathe as breath comes naturally to you, perhaps extending your inhalation and exhalation ever so slightly whenever you can. Now, remember a time you felt broken, less than whole, imperfect. Was it after a death, a loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or a job? Was it a moment you suffered a great injustice, or a moment when you felt you failed someone? Find that moment and hold it, ever so briefly. Now, remember gathering up the broken pieces. How did you do this? Did you realize it was too hard to do and you needed help? Who helped you? Or did you have to do it alone? Or perhaps you have not done it yet, and that's okay. Could you even find all the pieces? Did the pieces fit back together seamlessly? Or were the breaks rough and there were tiny fragments missing? Even after brokenness has been repaired, did you feel ashamed of those scars? Those reminders that you are different than before? Now shift your perspective. See yourself newly put together as whole, like the beautifully repaired watering pot or the Japanese kintsugi bowls. See your once broken seams melded together with love. See these seams as scars that shine like gold. They are a testament to your strength, to your beauty. See yourself as strong. See yourself as beautiful because of the scars. See yourself as unafraid. See yourself as whole. See yourself transformed. Dear ones, return from this time of meditation. When you do encounter feelings of brokenness, remember you are part of a community that has enough love to companion you in your hurt. This community has enough hands to help put the pieces together. This community has enough glue and gold leaf to restore wholeness. This community has enough love to help you see yourself as beautiful, as whole, transformed, perfectly imperfect.
Heavy. I once dreamt that my father was on his deathbed. He asked my stepmother to contact me, expressing a wish for me to visit him one last time and be with him in his final hours. She complied, calling me from the hospital telephone, Not having recognized the number, I picked up the phone to hear a voice I hadn't heard in years. My stepmother described my father's dying condition and request, and I responded with a cold no and suddenly awoke. And I felt great about that decision. In fact, I was proud of myself and satisfied with my response. Explaining the dream to my partner at the time, I said that my father didn't earn any kind of redemption or forgiveness after being the kind of parent he had been. For example, when it was clear my older sister was undergoing some psychological distress at 12 years old, my father thought it appropriate to send her to India for 4 years, lying to her each year that she would return the next. My sister didn't know Punjabi or Hindi and was staying with a side of our family who he had beef with. So this was, trauma upon trauma. Though my father himself had been through therapy, he didn't believe that disobedient children were distressed children. He believed that they lacked a sense of discipline or a connection with good Punjabi family values. This parenting choice made my sister and I fearful to communicate our feelings, lest we risk abandonment and isolation or even being disowned. As we got older, our father laid near total claim to our time. By the time I made it to college, I worked at his convenience store in Milwaukee for indefinite hours because he didn't respect my college major. I made less than $1 an hour if he felt like paying me at all and was told I did it because I love my family. But there was no choice but to work. My sister was similarly charged with domestic responsibilities. She would cook, clean, and babysit our younger half-brother, who at the time had recently been diagnosed with autism. She managed everything under my stepmother's purview and was expected to permit my stepmother to take credit for her labor. She wasn't paid at all, and similarly couldn't negotiate or refuse these duties. My father anticipated that I would work at his store full-time upon graduation and that my stepmother and he were preparing my sister for marriage. These were perhaps obviously unsustainable conditions for us. We're both gay. Like many American-born South Asians on TV, we lived double lives. We began to lie about our academic commitments to carve out free time and ultimately organize our escape. On June 8th, 2016, we blocked our parents' phone numbers as we moved out of their home in secret, essentially running away, though we were adults who had just graduated with bachelor's degrees. With the help of college friends, grad school admissions, financial aid refund money, and my sister's secret job, we were able to secure a modest apartment close to the university, some secondhand furniture, and new phones. We refused our father's call and renounced any connection to our living family because they ultimately didn't believe in our autonomy. It bears mentioning that my parents were unusually extreme in their understanding of discipline. Other Punjabi American families in our local community were more willing to give their children some say in their futures and in the way their time would be spent. There were obvious ideals. We were all expected to be studious, for example, but different parents would go to different lengths to ensure their children's compliance, while my father governed with an iron fist. Though we haven't spoken in years, I still often think about my father, sometimes spitefully, and other times with grief. Drama queen that I am, I think to myself, "Oh, Father, you're not dead, and yet I had to leave you. All of what I thought a father and son could be can never be us. I have failed to be who you needed, and you have failed me in turn. How do I love you after what you did and who you were? How do I love you in spite of who you are? What would I actually do or say were I to receive your deathbed call?" The you I address in these thoughts fascinates me. I seem to imagine that I have a father who could hear and be moved by my feelings. The father I imagine is as flawed as the father I have, and yet he is a version of himself who I can call on to hear me. The father I address is one who I both long for and grieve. If only I had a father who could hear my call. As you might guess, my actual father is emotionally immature. I know firsthand how he would respond to such a call. If he's anything like the father I remember, he would deflect blame or suggest I misapprehended reality, that my pain is only a product of bad faith and poor discipline. He would insist on how hard his life was, how he did his best. The conflict would become about my failure to sympathize with his parenting conditions as a child. My father's image of a good son is a son who fathers him in return. Of course, I can sympathize with a son who wants a father who makes a father of his son. I understand that my father was traumatized by his immigration conditions, as well as his failed marriage and the shame it brought him in the eyes of the local Punjabi Sikh community. That understanding doesn't undermine the impact of his words or actions, but it offers some context. My father acted in grief. I sometimes wonder what would happen if my imagined father were real, if he were to actually apologize and take active steps to grow and change. Do I have the fortitude to endure the struggle to grow together? Do I owe him that? Could my father ever do something that could make the past more bearable? I don't think there's an easy answer to this line of thinking, though it occurs to me that my understanding of who my father is and what he has done offers very little room for him to be any different. Were he to change, I wouldn't know if I could trust it. And on some level, the damage is done, and there's nothing he can do anymore. I have to live with the fact that he was who he was, and whether or not he were to change, I would still be afflicted by the past. I would still wish it were different, so I would need to be able to think of and feel the past differently. This imagined circumstance is not unlike the actual problem here. I have an understanding of what a father should be, and my father is not it. My father has an idea about what a son should be, and I am not it. My father's expectations of me far outweigh what I could ever impose on him. He had more power over me. We appear to be in opposition, but we're talking past each other, unable to accept the other. And like my father, I seem to demand the transformation of another to manage my grief. Letting go of the wish for his transformation requires learning to live otherwise, learning to live in spite of this difficult relationship and its phantom grip. My father may independently decide to work on himself, but these days, I don't have it in me to risk being hurt by him again. Were I to receive this deathbed call from my dream today, I would probably still refuse to see him. But when I had first had the dream, I assumed that the way I felt then would be how I'd always feel about him. I began to reconsider this relationship as my partner Scott and I decided to check out this particular Unitarian Universalist congregation. Among the first services we witnessed together was one in which my now good friend Barbara Lynn preached about radical welcome and about being a Unitarian Universalist Christian. In her very affecting sermon last year, Barbara retold the biblical story of the Canaanite woman, a story in which a woman asks Jesus to help her imperiled daughter. He initially refuses, and she ultimately convinces him to help her even after he demeans her. Barbara's reading of this story draws out how Jesus was a jerk to this woman and was moved and transformed by her insistence in faith. Scott and I found this interpretation novel and exciting, a helpful way to consider how the idea of radical welcome requires us to remain open to change. We learned that the Bible and Unitarian Universalism aren't essentially at odds, that for as much harm as many of us have endured at the hands of Christianity, we may yet find other ways to approach and be moved by it. As I reflected on Barbara's interpretation, it occurs to me that my father is not Jesus, nor is he one who embraces radical welcome. But that sermon didn't inspire me to think of radical welcome as a demand that another transforms. I understood it as a call to rethink my orientation toward my father. It is common for humanist scholars like me to understand the relationship between two things to be either dichotomous or dialectical, either oppositional and forever at odds, or fundamentally transformed through contact and made into some new third thing. But the relationship between two things can operate on all sorts of different logics, in part because the unity of each thing is provisional. Each thing is more than one thing at a time, and these two things don't generally exist in a vacuum. In other words, I'm not only a son, and my father is not only my father. The loss of my father is a loss of something foundational, but not the possibility of any and all foundations. My father may not be moved by me, but I continue to live. In the story of the Canaanite woman, I don't see myself in Jesus either. I see myself in the woman. What would she do if Jesus, someone with power, ignored her plea? My sense is that she could have found another way to manage her daughter's condition. Jesus was but one of the alternatives she might have pursued. We know from her persistence that she would have figured out something. Whether it was a cure for a daughter or learning how to bear the loss, this woman would have persisted. And like her, my sister and I figured something out that amounted to our departure from our parents on June 8th, 2016. I notice that when I focus on wishing for my father's transformation, I forget the communal love that made running away possible. I forget that there are others here to bear witness to this loss with me. I forget that there is a community that has taught me to care for myself, a community that has taught me to be my own father and to see something like a father's love in his collective embrace. There is still grief, but that's not all there is, and certainly not all there will ever be. While it is my friends and my chosen family from Milwaukee who made my independence possible, our congregation here in Ann Arbor has sustained me. I attend services regularly because this congregation offers a sense of being part of something greater. While it is my friends, this congregation, with its shared commitments to justice and equality, has offered a space to reflect, transform, and act, and it is here that I began to consider radical welcome as a way of living otherwise, of a turning away from what I can't change and turning toward a sustaining and transformative love. Such a transformative love affords me the strength to love others, to be moved by their deepest pain and deepest desires, the things that make them who they are. I know that if I were in trouble somehow, or even on my deathbed, there are members of this congregation I could call, and I would easily pick up the phone if the community I found here was calling. This transformative love may one day give me the strength to hear my father's call, to let him be someone new to me, someone free from the demands of my grief, my wish for a particular father and a particular past. This transformative love of radical welcome may also help you accept the immovable terms you come up against, offering an alternative, a family, a sustaining connection to a place that can hold and transform you. While you might continue to feel shattered by the grief of those things that have happened, those people who have harmed you, those who you've lost, or those who you can't change, you might find that the pieces of you that remain might be held together by a community like this congregation, by the golden trim we weave through and around you. May it be so.
Beloveds, will you rise as you're comfortably willing and able and turn in the gray hymnal to hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle, hymn number 323.
Break not the circle of
As you go into the days and weeks ahead, may you let yourself be moved and transformed by the love we foster here and among your loved ones beyond this congregation. May you widen your circle as you are ready and able, holding true to the love that sustains you. Now go in peace.
Thank you.